Hey everybody, Dr. Diane, your libido doc here, talking about stress and what stress does to your sex life. Now, there's a couple different ways of looking at the impact of stress, and in many ways, the stress can impact us differently. Sometimes people find that stress gets their adrenaline going and they just really need that release. And sometimes stress can actually be this huge movement towards sex for some people. So the most important thing for whether or not stress affects you and your sex life is really beginning to understand the uniqueness of you. Some people, and more commonly I find, that stress actually does the opposite. That stress will actually create this situation where it's just, how can you even get in the mood, right? And in order for blood to flow to our erogenous zones, in order for us to feel lubricated as women, in order for men to feel hard, you got to have that blood flow. And stress can actually cause our vessels to constrict and can prevent the blood flow to going to our erotic tissue, or our erogenous tissue, I should say. And so when that happens, it's very common, right? That all of a sudden we're not turned on, maybe performance isn't as good. Sometimes for women especially, but I see this for women and men. Sometimes for women especially, though, I see that women are not able to reach orgasm, for example. They're not even able to get close to climax. It's really easy for the mind to start being busy and bumbling over all the things of the day and stuck in the list and those sorts of things. And it's also so easy to be like, I'm too tired. I got to get up work early. I just do not have time for this. So one of the things we can do, we want to break this down, and there's a lot of different things we can do to improve our sex life here. So one of the things is absolutely doing adrenal testing, looking at adrenal hormones, cortisol, DHEAS, looking at our sex hormones, because stress hormones can impact sex hormones. So in my upcoming 21-day libido jumpstart, there's information in the show notes about that. That course is offered for women. And so that particular course comes with tests to look at adrenals, to look at sex hormones thoroughly, in addition to a lot of information of how to go through improving those hormone levels and getting yourself back to wellness. So make sure you look out in the show notes for that. We go through everything from how to talk to your partner about sex, to how to communicate, to how you learn your own body, to how to bring novelty and toys and all sorts of excitement and passion back into your relationship, as well as how to work with stress. But for now, what I also want to say is, again, we want to learn our own things like stress, as far as if it turns us on or turns us off. Because if it turns us off, if we're somebody in the camp where it's like stress really turns us off, that's another reason to do things like schedule sex. And the point of scheduling sex, there's multifold, but when it comes to stress and you schedule sex, so that allows the brain to then focus and say, okay, this is the time that I'm going to put into that. So then the other days, you don't have to think about like, oh my gosh, that internal conflict of like wanting to show up for a partner, but feeling way too stressed to do that. And there can be that conflict and that guilt. When we schedule it, it goes into a different category. But here's the other big thing. In order to enjoy it, in order to show up for our partner, when you schedule sex, if you're going through a really stressful time, what also can hugely help is scheduling a little time before sex to not work, but to do stuff that is stress management stuff. Maybe working out, but I really encourage you to do things that actually get you relaxed and not like jacked up and like feel like it's another thing you have to do. So whether it's stretching, whether it's yoga, whether it's visualization, deep breathing, walking, taking a bath, rubbing yourself down with oil, putting on something sexy, something that is actually getting your nervous system to calm and relax, so that when you do go into the actual intimate moment, your nervous system's actually already had a point of relaxing. Because the other thing that can get us into problems with stress and sex, that even if we do schedule it to try to get it in, oftentimes what happens is if we have, saying, okay, our sex date starts at 7, so easy to work up until 6:59, right? And then all of a sudden, you're stressed, you're not in your body, you might not be wearing something that is sexy, maybe you don't have those sexy pair of panties on, whatever it is, right? And so we carry that energy of our day then into that sexual experience. So making sure that in addition to scheduling sex, that we're actually scheduling an hour, 30 minutes, something that you can do ahead of time in order to have that moment. And if you can't, another thing you can do is like, okay, start your intimate moment with gentle touch, loving things, like just taking moments to breathe together, right? Doing breath work together, taking moments where you're trading off massage, right? Taking time for the soft music. And so maybe the first hour of a sex date doesn't have anything to do with anything close to sex at all, right? Maybe it is just gently touching each other, breathing, getting yourselves worked out of that stress moment, right? And so when we do that, the idea is, hey, not only then are we showing up for our partner, but remember the vicious cycle I talk about on this channel, some of how we get into the cycle of oxytocin, that love, that cuddle, that anti-stress hormone, that master hormone that regulates not everything, but so many different hormones in our body. Well, when we are stressed, oxytocin tends to go down, but oxytocin, when it's high, helps us manage stress. So it's imperative then, in order for us to use our natural stress management tools, that we find ways of getting oxytocin back into our bloodstream, because that makes us happy, that makes us healthy, that makes us more stress-free. And we can do that with the help of cuddle, of touch, of massage, right? So when we do that, we're actually literally sending our body stress-reducing hormones, so that hopefully then by the end of that hour or so, then we're ready for more of an intimate type of sexual expression, which again, doesn't have to be sex, right? And that's a huge, huge thing that we're going to explore more this month. So again, check out my information on my Desired course that's coming up soon. You don't want to miss it. It's a 21-day deep dive. I only take a limited number of people into that. So it's a super small cohort. We go through that together, and it's a 21-day libido jumpstart, physical, mental, emotional, interrelational, super fun. I'll see you there.